It's Mental Health Monday with Hope, a sanctuary where hearts can find solace. Together, we stand strong, united in our journey, discovering the strength within ourselves. Have no fear, for we're not alone.
Happy hot Monday, everyone. Wow, what a great day we had with the weather. You know, it's crazy, right? It goes from like 40s to 90s. But, that's spring and I'll take it. I won't complain either way. So welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Hope. I'm Hope. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So today I'm going to talk with my good friend, producer, engineer, person extraordinaire, Kendall Stevenson, and you never know where the conversation's going to go. So let's welcome Kendall.
Yeah. See, now you make me sound like I'm a crazy person.
I
gotta be investigated on.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
So PTSD and stuff.
Right, but I start with a positive affirmation with an I am. So go ahead.
Well, you always know I'm going to say I am because we are.
That's right.
That's my little.
I hope that right, and I hope that other people start to use that. I am because we are.
Well, we are a community.
I think I'm going to make a shirt. I'm sure there are plenty out there. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'm just going to make my own shirt. I am because we are.
We've been saying that for years.
Okay, well, now it's time.
We've been saying that.
Oh, we're this way now. Now it's time. Yes, I was looking at this camera.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, I'm good. We'll use this camera.
So look, mental health.
Yes.
This is Mental Health Month.
Yes.
So there's a lot of issues going on with mental health.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
First, this is what I want you to do.
Okay.
What would you consider to be a mental health issue? In other words, what is mental health?
Sure. So I feel that all issues can be mental health issues because of how mental health comes into play with everything. When we talk about when we're at the job and we get hurt, that's a physical issue. Oh, I hurt my back, so I can't hang out with you this weekend. It's a physical issue. And there's everything. There's so many things that's a mental health issue. Are you healthy mentally? Are you not healthy mentally? What do you do to maintain your mental health? What are your triggers that make your mental health fail? Laws, government, society, mental health is part of everything.
Well, speaking about, I like.
Oh, come on now! I wanted to start. I wanted to start the political stuff first today. But go ahead.
Yeah, just speaking about that. This young man that we have as a president. Well, you can go to the beach. I can't really go. Man. So this person that we have as the president, would you feel he has some mental health issue?
So I am sure that every mental health practitioner has diagnosed him, and I don't have the legal capabilities of making any diagnoses, but, having read the DSM many, many times to look up the different
narcissism.
Sure, absolutely. I mean,
and
of
he's
course,
definitely a narcissist.
I have diagnosed him. We all have diagnosed him, even people who don't have the ability to diagnose. He does certainly have those narcissistic tendencies. Yeah, absolutely. And that's only, that's only one part of it. I mean, the man is very insecure. So,
he's obsessed.
And he's very insecure because insecure people, here's the thing about mental health too, is that there are so many diagnoses that have similar characteristics. So, you can look at some of his behaviors and put it into one diagnosis. You can look at other behaviors and put it into another diagnosis. So what am I looking at? This camera. You put me back on this camera. Okay. So, I believe he does have mental health issues. He probably has his whole life. I mean, if you think about, the pressure that was put on him by his family, and I don't think he ever lived up to any of the expectations, but it doesn't sound like his dad was a good guy to begin with. He fabricates a lot of things about like his education, his standing in his education. That is narcissistic. That is also somebody who has very low self-esteem, that has to try to make themselves look better, because they have no self-esteem. But yeah, but let's talk about other political people. You want to stick with him?
What causes this?
Oh, well, I mean, so narcissism is actually behavioral. It is not a mental health. So some mental health diagnoses come from, the chemicals and the hormones and things like that. And some are behavioral. And, that is more of a behavioral tendency. So where does that come from? I mean, that comes from, how you're treated, how you feel about yourself. I mean, some of it could be, other diagnoses, sociopath, psychopath. I'm not diagnosing our president, but I'm just saying in general with narcissistic tendencies.
Well, you already know here on this station. Let me make sure I put that up so we don't have that issue. But you already know here on this station that what you and I say is
absolutely.
It's a disclaimer.
Sure.
So we based on a lot of the stuff, but some of the stuff is based on opinion.
Right.
But it's opinion based on fact.
Well, it is, and it's opinion because I have already just disclosed that I am in no capacity with my training, like legally able to make a diagnosis. But everybody's an armchair quarterback, so we're all making the diagnoses with everyone, and and it's interesting that I said that because we shouldn't, but it's kind of hard not to. I mean, I kind of do it on a regular basis when I meet people, and I don't. Not that I'm diagnosing them and I walk away and they're like, oh, I'm like, oh, they have blah, 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 blah. I look at people's behavior patterns in general. And, that tells me a lot about who they are.
So what are the traits? How can you tell if a person is, I don't know, mentally ill or issues? Or... So
again, there are...
I mean, other than just his behavior,
sure.
Some people are really quiet.
Right. Well, there are so many different characteristics of different mental health disorders. For example, when you hear of an individual who has committed suicide, taken their own life by suicide, a lot of times you hear friends and family say, wow, I never saw it coming. And that is true in a lot of situations because, with depression, there's also something called functional depression. And, and that's a situation where, to the outside world, you're doing everything, you just kind of like, just going along. There's nothing different about you. Nothing stands out, but you have this own battle, within you that you're dealing with in silence. And part of the issue with that is we have placed such a stigma on mental health and mental health issues. There's such a stigma placed there that people, and not just that, like, not just the stigma on mental health issues, but the stigma about talking about our feelings when we might feel like it's not the norm. And especially men, talking about their feelings. It's something that's considered taboo. I feel like it's getting better.
I'm going to tell you something. I've always wondered why people said that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never really had a problem expressing myself. And most guys that I know, I mean, we'll talk to each other about what's going on. I don't know if they so much talk to their women about
right.
But I mean, look at the society. We're coming from this European society, so you can't cry,
right?
And you have two choices: I'm angry, or I feel fine,
right? So
those are the two choices that's kind of.
And even if you are angry, you will tell people I'm fine.
Yeah. Times it depends on you. It depends on your personality.
Sure.
Some people get angry and they say they're very silent.
Right. But I know, there are things about all of us that we don't just, walk into a party and say, oh, blah, 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 because it's not socially acceptable. And I say that all the time when it comes to mental health things and when it comes to rape and sexual abuse and incest. You know, I say these are the things we don't talk about at parties.
Well, I can understand women doing that because of the way society treats them. You know, oh, well, you know, it was your fault that you got raped because you had on a short dress.
Yeah.
So you invited that into you know, that I can understand. But some of the issues,
And sadly, that still happens. And sadly, that still happens a lot of times with women saying it about other women. And here's the reason psychologically. Here's one of the reasons. There could be a lot of reasons, just hate and anger. But one of the reasons psychologically is if I can separate myself, I'm a female. And if I can separate myself from that female who is victimized, then in my mind, it could never happen to me.
really.
Does that make sense?
No, it sounds like denial.
It sounds like what?
Like you're in denial.
Oh, no, well, absolutely. I mean, but
That's what it sounds like.
that's psychologically one of the reasons why we do things like that.
Well, that gives you that I'm invincible type of
Right. But
feeling. It could never
look,
happen to me.
you're right. Because okay, think about it. You just said what she was wearing was provocative or whatever. Okay, I'm wearing it's literally like a pantsuit, you know. So I have my pantsuit on. She's wearing a tank top and a mini skirt, and somebody says, "Oh," or I say, "Oh, well, look at her. It's the way she's dressed." I am comparing myself to her. You know, look at her. She looks, excuse the expression, she looks slutty. She was asking for it. She was looking
that's a
for it.
generational thing. Right?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying is like the older people, like when I was growing up, the girls, they dressed a certain way. So as they got older, those younger girls, the next generation, dressed differently.
Mhm.
And the older generation was like, you look like a slut.
Right.
You know, I'm going to tell you something. I see the women today, especially the young girls. I see them today. And the way that they dress, I can remember going to the Bronx as a young man. You go up to the lower part of the Bronx, and that's the way that the hookers dress.
Right. Right.
They were pulling over the cars. Now in today's society, it's okay.
Right. Well, and that comes from, so many different things. I mean, look at our music industry. Look how people dress in the music industry.
Right.
Look at like the modeling industry. I mean, look at all of that. I mean, there's so much societal influence on this. And here's the thing. You know what? If I want to wear a mini skirt and a tank top because I think it makes me look sexy and it makes me feel good about myself, then I should be allowed to do that with no one's judgment, no one's oogling.
Nobody says nothing when a guy walks around with no shirt on.
No, you're right.
It's all good.
Right. But certain cultures, like with my a few of my male friends who are Puerto Rican, don't know each other, but have the same ideology that you never go shirtless. A male never goes shirtless when he's around women.
Oh, that must be a cultural thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I said.
Because a lot of guys, they want to get on the beach and they want to play, muscle beach.
Yeah,
right?
well, but I mean, I feel again, society-wise, being on the beach,
Well, think about
you're
this.
looked at differently if you're fully clothed on the beach.
Look, think about it. You see the way you're dressed now,
Yes.
right? Now that would be an outfit maybe 50 years ago
Mhm.
for the beach.
Fair.
You got
Fair.
me?
And the stripes and everything.
Right, but you wouldn't see a woman. You wouldn't see a woman in a bikini
Right.
because you know what they would tell you. That's
You're right.
underwear.
You're right. You're
You
right.
can't wear that stuff out here. But again, like I say with this rape stuff or guys that do this thing, this is a guy's problem. I know what happens to fall upon women, but this is a psychological process.
100% it is not.
I want to
It
be in
is
control.
control.
That's it. And I'm going to control you.
I did a great program when I worked at the University of Scranton for incoming first-year students, males and females. And we did it by floor. So in the dormitories, what do they call them now? Residence halls?
No, they're not dorms anymore?
No, they're not dorms anymore. They're residence halls. So we did them floor by floor. So that way it was the same gender. So we didn't have mixed genders when we did this program. And one of the questions that we asked males and females, again, separately, what does a woman look like when she's asking for it? Asking for it, meaning asking to be sexually assaulted. And everybody would give those same descriptions that we were just talking
So
about.
what does a guy look like?
And that was the next question.
Yeah. So what does a guy look like?
That was
when
the
he's
next
saying,
question.
You know, come
So
to get me.
the next question was, so what does a guy look like when he's asking for it? And everybody just looks around and they start laughing. They're like, what do you mean? Like, well, there's gotta be, listen, if a female is wearing a mini skirt and, you know, and a half shirt, and that means she's asking for it. So how does a guy dress?
Don't we call that double standard?
Yeah, we do.
I
We
thought
do.
so.
We
I thought that would
do.
be just a little hypocritical
Yeah.
for people to do that.
But that's why we did that program. It was very educational. You know, the students, it really hit them. And again, sometimes when I would leave campus, because we did the programs in the early evening, I would be leaving campus and everybody would be going to a party. Now, parents, if your children are in college, the way they socialize is by going to parties. You know, not all parties have alcohol because you have a dorm room. So you're not going to have 15 kids in your dorm room. So this is how students socialize when they're in college, out at a public location. And I would be leaving campus and I would be seeing all of these young ladies dressed to the nines, and they looked gorgeous. They looked absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, I hope that I was able to teach them something about protecting themselves, about, you know, staying with friends. No means no. But, you know, every time I left there, I'm like, you know, please God, let them all get home safely.
Wow. Like I said, I think it's a problem in this country, especially when it comes to men and their treatment towards women. And I'm not going to say all men, because, I mean, like I told you before, a lot of things that we do in this country, we're taught how to do.
Right.
We're in this society, especially as a Black male. So a lot of things that we wouldn't normally do based on where we originally came from, we pick that up and now we do it now. One of them is abuse.
Yes.
And domestic abuse, that domestic violence, that I'm in control of the woman. I'm in control of the household. Right. To where I'm going to hurt her if she doesn't do what I say. Absolutely. I'm going to hurt the kids if they don't do what I say.
And I'm, you know, some of that stems, not the violence part of it, well, maybe, but some of that stems from religion as well. Because, you know, women are meant to be submissive to their husbands. And, you know, I talk about my story a lot. And, you know, my parents had an abusive relationship. And we were Jehovah's Witnesses when I was growing up. And the thing with that is, like, they were very much, you know, oh, you have to be submissive to your husband. And my mom was under his thumb, as they say. So he took that very serious, that if she wasn't going to be submissive, that there were consequences to pay. But I just had a good conversation with my mom. We were talking about a friend of mine who kind of, you know, came up in a rough situation. And to this day still has a lot of those traits. And it was interesting, you know, the conversation my mom and I had. She's like, I understand him because I was him. She's like, I grew up in a bad place too. She called it a low place. I apologize. She called it a low place. She's like, you know, I didn't live in the projects. I didn't live in the ghetto. I wasn't involved with drugs or, you know, violence in that respect. She's like, but because of, you know, my childhood, she had some things, you know, occur in her childhood. And again, being in the marriage to my father, that was her low place. And what she said was that it took a lot of time. You have to come out of that low place. You have to recognize that you are better than that and you deserve better than that. And again, that kind of comes back to, you know, with mental health, because when you're in a situation like that, we're talking about domestic abuse. The abuser will say everything derogatory to you. With my mother, my father told her that, you know, she was too dumb to drive from here to Allentown. And when my mom finally decided we were leaving my father, my mom drove us all the way from Long Pond to Texas, which is where my uncle lived, where we hadn't seen him in a very, very long time. And I remember, because I was 14 or 15 at the time, my mom just white knuckling it, driving until we went through a couple states and she was more relaxed. And again, that's PTSD. That's, somebody's mental health being bashed, somebody's self-esteem being bashed down over the years. And, when we came back months later, she was a different person. Sometimes I feel my mom went too extreme in the other direction. Like, I don't need anybody. But again, it's all part of the process. It's all part of the process with mental health. Sometimes when we get out of that and we're like, we feel free, and then we're like, oh, hey, I don't need anything. But that also happens sometimes with people with certain diagnoses that are on medication when they're feeling good and are in a almost a manic state. They feel that they don't need their medication anymore, and then they crash.
Goes back to that denial.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't know if it's a conscious denial in that situation, or it's I feel good, I don't need the medication anymore. And I think again, everything I'm talking about has been said publicly before. A lot of the details about my life are in my book, which I'm hoping to have out by the end of the year.
What's the name of the book?
Basketball Saved Me.
Oh, okay.
Basketball Saved Me. Healing. Oh, wait, hold on. Healing from sexual trauma through sport is the little line underneath. But my sister was on the show here, the very first show I did with the PA Empowerment Network. By the way, if you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It is free. And like this podcast that we're doing. But my sister is an addict. She's clean for 3 years now. And she wakes up every morning and tells herself that she's an addict. And she makes the conscious decision to not use that day. She's like, no matter what happens today, I will not use. And I think with all of us, that is, that's relevant. It's almost like my positive affirmations. If we're starting the morning and we're just, going and, running out the door and what have you, we need to take a second and ground ourselves. What are we grateful for? I know with your show, you have a moment of gratitude.
Yeah, we usually start out with a moment. We have to be grateful for something.
Right,
so
right.
That's pretty much the way that we start the show off. Looking at a moment of gratitude.
Right. And, and what I say to people a lot, and you see it like now it's a meme, you have made it through your worst day. You've made it through your worst day. Like whatever you feel is the worst thing that ever happened to you, you made it. You made it through there. And then if something similar comes up again, what were the skills that you utilized to get through the situation the time that it happened previously? So, it's mental health is taking care of ourselves. We can have a diagnosis. We can be on medications. We can have a diagnosis and not be on medications. We can not know yet that we have a diagnosis. But it's all about self-care. Everything in life is self-care. You cannot pour from an empty cup.
How about the addiction? Now, you were talking about with your sister,
yes,
the addiction to drugs, but there are multiple addictions.
Sure.
Like, let's say if a person is addicted to, I don't know, let's say cleaning.
Oh, they can come to my house. Actually, I was just reading something that says that gambling is the #1 addiction.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a compulsion.
It is, and it's a personality. It's a personality disorder. Those people are more prone to addictive behaviors. People who smoke, people who drink. I have a friend who is an alcoholic. He's clean for 21 years now, sober. But what he did was replaced his addiction with work.
Well, see, that's what I was going to ask.
So he still has the addiction.
Once you give up one thing, you give up one addiction, you kind of pick up another.
Again, it's
because
like
they have an addictive person,
right? And it's just going the flip side.
Right.
Bad addiction, good addiction. But really, when you work 24/7, is that really a good addiction? I mean, yeah, you're making money. This gentleman has a full-time job, and then he would come home from that full-time job, switch out equipment, like to his own personal equipment, and then work until dark. And then come home, eat and sleep, and get up in the morning and do it all over again.
So what was his original addiction?
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Alcohol. Yeah.
And again, you're not dealing with the addiction. You stop drinking, but you're not dealing with the addictive personality issues. And and that takes counseling. That takes someone to guide you to know what your triggers are, and for you, like, for that light bulb to come on, for you to recognize it and then change the behavior. And it doesn't happen overnight.
And see, when you say change the behavior, I'm thinking about it. You go from this addiction that you had, that you got from somewhere. You got the original addiction,
Right?
So now you got the new addiction. So what are you gonna do about the new? Because each one seems it's not so much that one replaces each other. It more or less replaces what you do during that time period.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because if you're a smoker, you're used to smoking, I don't know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, after you go to the bathroom, those type of things. So now when you decide you don't want to smoke anymore, you still got breakfast, lunch, dinner, the bathroom, and those are the times when you get the most craving. So how do we
Right. And so again, it's making a plan. I know one of the methods for quitting smoking that's not cold turkey is to write down every time you smoke. Like, what were you doing? Every time you smoke. Okay, so let's say you always smoke, like you said. You always get up in the morning, you have a cigarette. You have your coffee, you sit on the porch, you have a cigarette. You read the newspaper, you have a cigarette. But, today you walked to the mailbox and had a cigarette. Or, I'm bored, so I had a cigarette. So one of the suggestions on quitting smoking was look at all of your smoking habits and start by cutting out the non-essential ones. And that's a change of the behavior. You don't just cut it out. You do replace it with something, and a lot of people who quit smoking do replace the cigarette smoking with eating. That's why people say, oh, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to gain weight. And it's all a mindset.
I don't know if that's true.
Everything is a mindset.
I don't know if you stop smoking, you lose weight.
Gain weight.
Or gain weight.
Yes,
I don't know if that's
gain
true
weight.
either.
Well, anybody that's watching, if you've ever quit smoking, go ahead and put that in the comments. If you gained weight, if you lost weight, if you feel that that's the case, I've seen it happen with
I see people gain weight because they stop smoking, but they stop eating more.
Well, they start eating more. Yes, exactly. Because again, they replace the cigarette with the food.
But the cigarettes that stopped smoking didn't have them gain weight.
No. It was the replacement behavior.
Okay.
Replacement behavior. And actually, so smoking cigarettes does draw some of the fluids out of your body. So even if you stopped smoking and you didn't start eating more, you would probably put on a couple pounds. It's just normal water weight.
Wow.
But now, okay, so I want to change directions here.
Wait.
Which camera do I got?
We got to take a break.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then I'm going to change directions.
It's going to be a quick break.
Quick break.
All right.
We'll be back.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, I think I want to check them out because I need to get my guns again. So we thank the Wolf Pack for being one of our sponsors. Thank you for your belief in the PA Empowerment Network, and thank all of you for watching. Again, please subscribe. It is free. Just hit that subscribe button there on YouTube. Check out our website. We have great stuff on our website as well. We have some we were going to come back. I wanted to change directions. So I wanted to get to the political aspect of things before Kendall did, but he beat me to it. I don't know if you've been following, but RFK Jr. is kind of getting his fingers into the mental health situation, and he wants to make it so that doctors do less prescribing of a medication that falls into the classification of SSRI. And SSRIs are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And what he wants doctors to do is a whole bunch of other, avenues before they get to SSRIs. Have you been following this? Okay. So
I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
You know what? How about this? How about we cut out the acronyms and say
Okay.
what they are?
Well, SSRIs, it's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it is a medication that works with our brain. So serotonin is, released in our brain, and it comes out, goes into our brain cells.
Okay.
Only a certain amount normally, when your brain is acting the way it's supposed to act according to all the medical standards, only a certain amount of the serotonin gets reuptook, absorbed back into those cells, whereas more is supposed to be going throughout the body to do what it's supposed to do. So an SSRI is a depression medication typically that keeps that serotonin from being reabsorbed back into that cell. Prozac is an SSRI, which I go with Prozac because that I feel is like one of the most widely known SSRI. So what RFK wants to do, because he's our health guru who doesn't have a degree in medicine at all and who has his own mental health issues, he wants to decide how doctors prescribe depression medication.
I
don't pick on people's attributes that way. But that was a good one. So full transparency here. I'm a mental health practitioner. So that's something, that I'm very well aware of with SSRIs. Also, we talk about, talking about mental health and our own mental health in public, the things you don't talk about at parties, because when somebody talks about it, it makes somebody else feel comfortable that they can talk about it. So I have been taking SSRIs for years. I had a very traumatic childhood. So some of the things, when you're looking at things that cause depression, traumas, multiple traumas, continued trauma, believe it or not, there's, diet and things like that can also cause depression. And chronic pain is a trigger for depression. So, there are so many things. My brain is pretty amazing, by the way. No, my brain, the chemicals in my brain will probably never normalize without the use of SSRIs, because it doesn't matter. Like I do all the natural things and stuff like that. Lost a lot of weight. Again, getting overweight, then that helps with depression. So I don't have, I have what you would consider functional depression, because it's the chemicals in my brain that are not properly going throughout my body without that medication. And again, I'm going to be very open because it's coming out in my book anyway. So why not talk about it? If I skip a day, not just a day, it has to be a couple days because of you think of the half-life and things like that of the medication. What happens to me is it's all in my head. Sorry, it's all in my brain, literally. And people, if you're on SSRIs or, these types of medications, tell me if this has ever happened to you if you stop taking your medication, because that you're supposed to wean yourself off. But
you're supposed to wean yourself off.
Absolutely. Like if you're
taking.
Well, no. If you change medications or if you decide to stop taking the medication altogether, you're not supposed to stop cold turkey because of what it does to the chemicals in your brain. So if I forget to take my medication for a couple of days, which, isn't a difficult thing to do for me because I'm so busy all the time, what happens inside of my brain is that I get these little, what feels like, it doesn't feel like it. I can't explain it. It's almost like little fireworks going off in my brain. It doesn't hurt, nothing like that. but it is what it is. It's like the chemicals are misfiring. And, I never noticed it before I started taking medications. So if RFK decides that, he wants to limit doctors and their ability to prescribe SSRIs, there are a lot of people that are going to have issue with that. I know that my brain chemicals need it. And, plain and simple. My behaviors, my mood, things like that do not change if I'm not on an SSRI. And the reason initially that I started taking it was as an adult, I had night terrors, again, from trauma, which it's very rare for adults with having night trauma. Night terrors, sorry. But so that is, my personal story as an individual. I take SSRIs. And my doctor is very competent. So let's send this to RFK. I don't want RFK in my doctor's office telling my doctor what he can and cannot prescribe me. Family practitioners don't necessarily prescribe psychological medications anymore. And they shouldn't be. You should really be going to a psychological services, either like a psychiatric PA or a psychiatrist, to become diagnosed, to get your medications, to tweak your medications, because it's not like, oh, I have a cold, or I'm going to take cough medicine. It takes my cough away. Poof, I'm better. Medications for different mental health diagnoses don't work that way. You start with the low dose. You start with an easy, a medication that might be easier statistically with the studies, easier for an individual, and you go from there. And if doctors aren't allowed, if doctors don't have that ability anymore, there are going to be a lot more people in mental health crisis than there are now. And part of the mental health crisis is not having enough practitioners to begin with. So how long is it that we have to wait for an appointment to see our practitioner?
Well, it's not only just the practitioner, it's also that the funding. The federal government is, your boy, Mr. Kennedy, that they're defunding a lot of these programs,
right,
to help people with mental health issues.
Right.
So it starts at the top. If they don't give a damn,
you're right.
And by not funding these programs, that's pretty much what they're telling you. They don't care.
Right. And I think they've gone further than saying, I don't give a damn, for the funding. They've gone further to say, we feel that the professionals aren't doing their job.
How about that?
And think about it statistically. I don't know how doctors, have to report or however that works. So if there are any doctors want to have that conversation with me, I can see. I'll use a linear example. You're on unemployment. You get cut off your unemployment because you've reached your limit, but you don't have a job yet. So when they started decreasing the amount of extensions with unemployment, people lost their unemployment benefits, but they weren't employed. So what that did for the statistics was said, hey, look how great we are. We have decreased the amount of unemployment. But, what they didn't do is compare it to the job situation and the employment situation. So I don't know if there's any kind of statistical reporting, but I can just see, the powers that be saying, hey, look, our ideas are great. We're telling people to take their vitamin A, K, A, and B, and D, which should be anyway, by the way. And now we have less people who have mental health diagnoses, and it's wrong.
They're pretty much telling you to eat cake. That's what they're telling you. Like Maria,
you're right. You're right.
What they're telling you,
right?
Because we don't care about you.
Yeah, it's funny because you're saying eat cake, and I'm thinking, what vitamins are in cake? Oh,
yeah. Like Maria Antoinette, she said the people were starving, and she said, "Well, eat some cake."
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what's going on now. And I'm wondering what's going to happen after this administration, post this administration, because a lot of things that took place, even though illegal or not, he's flooded the courts. The courts are so packed with complaints about him and and lawsuits against him.
Right.
It's going to take years to unravel all of it.
Sure.
Okay. So all of the damage that he's done and that he's doing, how are people gonna,
Right.
you know, how they gonna recover from it?
so-
Look at Cuba. You see what they're doing with
Yes.
Cuba?
Yes.
I mean, come on, if that's not cool,
Right.
hold on, I'm pissed off at your government. So all of y'all gonna have to starve.
Right. I know. And all of this, you know, when we talk about everything that's going on in politics and government right now, all of this has heightened us. It has given us anxiety. Remember, continued anxiety, and this is trauma. This is psychological trauma. This leads to more mental health issues. And I'm not saying that, I mean, because it again, it is a chemical reaction. It's nothing, you know, I remember I had a lot of anger, and my doctor diagnosed me with depression. And I'm like, yeah, I know I had anger. You guys that know me would never believe that, but it's true. I was an angry elf. And I said, I'm not depressed. Yeah, from the movie Elf, I say that all the time. I'm like, I don't have depression. I'm happy. I'm a happy person.
As long as
But-
you're beating somebody up.
What's that?
As long as you're beating somebody up.
Nah, I haven't done that since I'm like in 7th grade. That I'll admit to. But no, but I just had anger, you know. And again, that was from all that trauma. It didn't have any place to go. I didn't have anything to call it. I didn't have a release because I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what it was. And if you look at our society right now, you look at, there are more shootings. There are more people who are beating each other up. Look at the discourse on social media, the hate. That is anger. Anger, prolonged.
So check this out.
Chemical
Check this out.
chemical imbalance.
So check this out. This is one of the things I wanted to say. So when black people get angry and get mad, right, they get signed, they go out and protest, right?
Right.
Up and down the state. When the white people get mad, they want to physically burn down the White House. They want to use violence. To me, coming from that society, for years and years and years, they've been mostly the violent ones, especially the men. Because I don't see us going to anybody's neighborhood and want to beat people up or shoot people. Or if you go through their neighborhood, you get beat up and shot. Now, I told you I was going to write a book. And I wanted to write a book about pretty much my life.
Right.
So as I started getting into it and started listening to other people's stories, I realized that I'm not an anomaly. I'm not.
No.
My story is not. There's a lot of people with my story.
Sure.
So I decided I wanted to write a book maybe on just trauma.
Okay.
But trauma from a different perspective. You know, trauma from, because you people talk about growing up being abused.
Right.
That happened a lot in my neighborhood.
Sure.
You know, with the drugs, the alcohol that was put into my neighborhood,
Sure.
the guns that were put in, and you had to deal with that. And then you just had to deal with, I don't know, being black, because in the other part of town, you were considered a criminal by default.
Right. But, and we're now in rural Pennsylvania, and it happens here as well. It's
They
just
got
hidden.
sundown towns here.
It's just hidden.
They got sundown towns.
Yes.
And it's not that hidden anymore.
Right. No, you're right. It's not. It's not as much as it used to be.
What did we talk about a minute ago? Being politically correct.
Right.
Right? In other words, I respect you, you respect me. Those days, that's gone.
I know.
These people come out and they say whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
And they say what they want to you, about you, and you better not say nothing back.
Right.
Because if you say something back, then you're the bad guy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, it all comes from the example that's given from the top. And when you have someone who has such a personality disorder as narcissism, it's going to trickle down. The only trickle down economics that are working seems to be this.
You know, I want to ask you, that young man that went after Trump this last particular time.
Yes.
When he jetted through everybody.
Yes. I haven't followed that as closely
I don't
as.
know if he had mental issues.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I did not read anything of his background.
Teacher,
Yeah.
He was master's degrees. He
Right.
was good in the neighborhood. Everybody
Yeah.
loved him. He did a lot of community work.
You could have been set up. You don't know.
Well,
I swear I'm becoming a conspiracy theorist, and that is totally not who I am. I am all about the facts. But facts.
well, here's fact
skewed.
number one. Let me help you out here. Here's fact number
Okay.
one. CIA, what is the other people? They got Secret Service,
FBI.
military, FBI. He ran through all of these people. He never made it to the ballroom.
Right.
Got a couple of shots off and
Yeah.
no one. And the only person that shot someone was another officer that
Right.
shot another officer.
Right. Friendly fire.
So I don't get it. I don't see where
No.
the mental health comes in at. I see somebody who was pissed off at the establishment
Absolutely.
and said, I'm tired of it and I want to do something about it.
Right. But again, we talk about
I mean, would you consider John Wolf Group insane or angry?
angry.
Okay.
Angry.
So there is a difference.
There's absolutely a difference. But it's also what one person does when they're angry may not be the norm, the societal norm
Mhm.
of what one does when they're angry. And that's how it then gets pushed toward mental health. Because again, look back at what I said about, we like to make psychological differences between ourselves and other individuals. So yeah, I'm angry, but I would never do what he did. So he's clearly crazy.
Mm.
So then I can make that distinction between him and I and put that, that little boundary around me that I would never do that because, he's obviously crazy. I'm just angry. And, it's a psychological thing that we do. And you know me, I am a goofball. I like to make jokes. But could you imagine if, remember when, I don't know if this still happens, people like get onto the baseball field or the football field, they streak across the field.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
I wonder what would have happened if this guy would have been naked and just seen as a streaker running through the crowd.
What do you think he would have made it to the ballroom?
He might have. I'm not sure, but I'm a goofball, so that's coming from my silly side. But then I would either call him a genius or there could be some mental health issues, or he's just a goofball like me. See, again, you can't you can't diagnose someone else really, because some people just like to be silly. Obviously, if I'm angry enough, or not me, but I'm saying if an individual is angry enough to attempt homicide, there are some boundaries there that have frayed away. And why is that? Is there some sort of a diagnosis? Is there a disconnect in the brain mentally, or has that disconnect been created by a society that is angry in general? I shared this with some of my friends that, or did I? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I shared it last week. I apologize. That I was out when we had in our community on Mother's Day, we had a terrible, terrible trauma. A little boy, nonverbal autism, eloped and was found deceased in a pond. And I was out there, not with the search crews and, with the first responders and all of those wonderful people. They were tremendous, but I was on the outskirts and, kind of knocking on neighbors' doors and letting them know that there's this little boy that's lost. Can I look in your shed? If their shed or their garage was open, I asked if I could look, or if not, I feel out the situation. Maybe they would look. And I pull into this one driveway. At the end of the driveway, it's like, no trespassing. And I'm like, I define trespassing. I guess anybody that's on your property without your permission is trespassing. But how do I know if I can be on your property if I don't come down and meet you? But it's the first time in my life that I ever felt ill at ease in going up to somebody's door, because of just how our society has become. with how we're so skeptical about everyone and how we're, you know, in such fear and how we have so much anger, that's, you know, the first time in my life that I was ever frightened to go up to a stranger's door. And that's not how our society should be. That's not how we should be. So, you know, it was very disturbed. It was very disturbing for me. So what else can we talk about with mental health? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about next? Did you want to talk about PTSD a little bit?
We could talk about PTSD. I think. What about PTSD?
Well,
listen, PTSD is a real thing. For some reason, they're just not finding out about how serious PTSD can be. Now, most people relate that to a military person.
Right.
Because based upon the traumas. But you have people that grew up in certain neighborhoods and they are traumatized, and yeah, they have PTSD. You got people that were involved in the World Trade Center.
Sure.
I tell you, I got a buddy of mine during the 4th of July, he came from outside. He can't deal with the fireworks.
Exactly.
It got so bad that he could only work at night because he couldn't handle driving into the city in the day. Yeah, he eventually had to end up retiring.
Yeah,
But he was medicated too.
Sure.
So the 9/11 situation, that brought about a lot of trouble.
Listen, I feel that we all have traces of PTSD because of 9/11. Obviously, people who were there, people who were impacted by it, like personally, their level is much higher. But, you know, we have all witnessed it over and over and over again. And that trauma, that replaying of that trauma is what creates PTSD. I liken it to vicarious trauma, which is typically a term used that that's, you know, people in the mental health profession are affected by because they are dealing with other people's trauma all the time. So it's called vicarious trauma. But I feel that even though we were watching it on television, as we were watching the other people's trauma, we were dealing with their trauma, which created our own trauma.
Now, I'd say I went through a lot of traumatic experiences. Well, as a youth, the abuse, went into military, got into military, dealt with a lot of different things. I worked at the Marriott, God was getting me to jump off, and I ended up stopping it from jumping off, right? That was a good thing, right? And later on in life, in other words, I've dealt with a lot of different tragedies, but I think that my wife would tell you, I don't panic.
Right.
And
that's good.
Yeah. I don't, for whatever reason, I developed this little remorse type of feel. I don't really get emotional when things take place.
Right.
So I more or less react instead of getting crazy.
Are you comfortable with sharing what triggers your PTSD?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, look, I used to get angry to the point of rage.
Sure.
And it didn't take much.
Okay.
But again, I tell you, I grew up in a different society. I mean,
right.
You guys step on your sneakers, man. You guys ready to kill each other.
Yeah.
Because you stepped on your sneakers.
Right.
Okay. You know, it was different.
Right.
Fighting was something of the norm. Now you got something wrong with you because you're like, but back then it was a way of survival.
Right.
Again, it depends on the environment that you grow up in. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I think people that have experienced traumatic experiences, I think they can handle those experiences better later on when something happens again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. You know, because they've already gone through their worst day. They've already survived their worst day. So, you know, I absolutely get that. My mom and I were just talking about this yesterday, that she still is, you know, very uncomfortable. Like she says, the hair will stand up on the back of my neck if somebody comes up too close behind her, or if they put their hand on her shoulder.
Oh, you mean like me?
Yes, actually.
Actually, yeah.
And I'm gonna say, if it's okay, I did that to you once.
Yep.
I did that to Kendall.
Yep.
And you know, I feel like I want to cry right now because I remember the look on your face.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I remember the look on his face, and it broke my heart. So as soon as I did that, I came up and I gave you a hug because I was glad that you came to do a photo shoot for me.
Look, I'm
a hugger.
Look, I've had people come up behind me and put, like, touch me, friends. It didn't turn out well.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it didn't turn out like with you.
No.
With me, it was more, I felt threatened right quick, and I reacted.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine, a female, she was walking down. I was walking this way going to her job, and she saw me and ran up behind me and decided to hug me. Well, that was you're on the ground now.
I know.
And, that didn't turn out very well either.
Right.
So yeah, I'm saying you got.
Well, I came from the front to hug you, so that was good. I mean, I was in your line of sight.
I'm one of those guys. I don't like to
But
touch.
no,
I'm not an introvert.
No, you're not. You're not.
I'll socialize.
Right.
But I don't like people to touch me.
Yeah.
Touching is very intimate.
Absolutely.
That's an intimate thing. Now
Absolutely.
we're going into another realm here.
Right.
Yeah. Now you're really in my space.
Yeah. I remember the look on your face. It wasn't an anger look.
Yeah.
I just remember the look on your face. It was very intense, and I'm like, oh, I just did something that. But we were good. We talked about it.
Yeah, but I tell you, I don't know if the signs or anything does anything. I'm a Gemini, and the thing about I know Gemini, the one thing is they're loyal to a T.
Right.
If they love you and care about you, they are loyal to a T, to
Right.
a fault.
Right.
So, I've been with this woman 30 plus
Yep.
years, right? Okay,
Yep.
so there it is. If another woman comes up and touches me, like, hold on, man.
Fair. No, that's good. That's.
You're
I
in
wish
my
there were
space.
more. I wish there were more men like that.
There are.
There are. You're right.
Like me.
You're right.
And plenty of women like me.
See-
and then you got plenty of women on the other side of the track.
Yes,
too.
that's true.
All right.
See, now I'm a Pisces, which also very loyal,
Mhm.
but I'm also very emotional, touchy-feely, huggy.
No,
I you know what? Because for me, and I think it's not just being the Pisces. I think it's also just because of everything, that I've gone through in life, that I've seen friends go through in life. I lost my best friend 5 years ago to cancer. I work in hospice, so, I see death every day. I just want to tell the people that I love them, and show them, that I love them. Hugging my friends, I tell them I love them all the time.
yeah, my brother's right there beside me,
Yeah,
and he was in hospice.
yeah,
He was in my arms. He transitioned while I was holding him.
right.
That was a rough thing.
It can be very traumatic.
Just important to know. He's in
Yeah.
hospice, that's all.
It can be very
Yeah,
traumatic.
yeah. So I
But-
keep him right here beside me.
Yeah, it was a gift. You gave him a great gift to be with him and to help him
My
transition.
brother was something else. My brother was an amazing person. I'm not kidding. I don't just say it to say it. I mean,
Yeah.
he truly was an amazing person. This guy could look at you. Now, he was a seamstress tailor with whatever title. people
Right,
want to
right.
give him. He was into fashion.
Yeah.
He could look at you, make you a dress, no pattern.
Oh, wow, that's
And the
great.
dress would fit you like a glove.
Oh, that's perfect.
I'm telling you.
That's
He
perfect.
made dresses for my wife. He made me coats, and he done the fashion show. He opened a
Wow.
store across the street from the Apollo.
Wow.
He had a store that he was selling his own wear.
Nice.
K-Bon was the name that he used.
Okay.
K-Bon. Yeah.
Okay.
He said he wouldn't wear other people's label.
Right. Wear his own.
He
That's
wears his
great.
own. Yeah.
Well, I know, it was painful for you, but I because of working in hospice, I see it many times where family doesn't, the person who is transitioning doesn't want other family there.
Oh, he wanted me there.
And to me, that's a beautiful gift because
He
he
thought
was showing that was his most vulnerable moment in life, and he wanted to share it with
he
you.
started really call it dementia. So he would actually tell people that I was his father
Yeah.
and that he was coming here
Oh,
to live here.
right,
So he said, this is his home.
right,
Okay. We hadn't built the house yet,
right,
but he knew we were going to build it. He
Right.
would tell people that this is where he's moving.
right. And you know what? Actually, dementia is another topic that maybe we can talk about on one of the episodes, because it's very difficult for families when they're dealing with a loved one with dementia.
You know what pisses me off about that is that when it starts to happen to a person, you start forgetting this, or you don't remember this. It's like the people around you, they get angry at you.
Right.
It's like, why don't you remember that?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't remember it.
There are lots of do's and don'ts when it comes to dementia care, when it comes to like families interacting with an individual with dementia. There are a lot of do's and don'ts. And I've given programs on dementia to skilled nursing facilities. It's something I have a heart for dementia. I'm very passionate about
All
that
right.
as well.
Well, we're about at the end.
We are at
So
the
what
end.
we're going to do, I'm going to let you go ahead and do your do. On your
Okay.
way out, and I'll see you next time.
All right. Well, there I'm back on camera A. Thank you for joining us. I hope you really did enjoy our lively conversation. And next Monday is Memorial Day, but we will still be here. So in advance, be safe this upcoming weekend, and remember what Memorial Day is about. It's remembering those who we lost, who fought and died for our freedoms that we have here today. So please make sure that you honor them this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Mental Health Mondays with Hope.
It's Mental Health Monday with Hope, a sanctuary where hearts can find solace. Together, we stand strong, united in our journey, discovering the strength within ourselves. Have no fear, for we're not alone.